So how's it going today, Bill?
So you say about
We
$20,000.
only got 13 minutes, so you got to cut
13
to the
minutes,
chase.
let's do it.
$20,000. You say.
Yeah, that's my estimate, just knowing how lawyers bill, investigators bill. I think there was something to the tune of 13 people investigated. It had to take some time to put the report together, regardless of what people's opinion is on the report.
Right.
So it's got to be somewhere around there.
What happened?
What happened that night? This has nothing to do with the report, okay? And let me just say something.
You witnessed. You were
Not
there.
only was I there, but this could have been dealt with in the days after, swift and prompt. We could have gone through this with the HR department internally and actually dealt with this without an investigation. I really think part of the reason an investigation was quote, called for as required is for cover in this type of situation. It's an HR situation. There were workplace, conduct issues for sure, but that's all distributed to everybody.
Yeah.
We all have that booklet. Everybody's been notified. HR's done multiple meetings within City Hall. In the private sector, when we deal with something like this, we don't have to bring in some high-dollar investigation firm. We deal with it because everybody is apprised to what's in that code of conduct already. I really believe that in the days after that, if the mayor really wanted to look into this the way he did, and I did request the video right after, and I did reach out and want to speak to people right after this. It should have been the HR department. It should have been myself and the mayor talking. We could have dealt with this appropriately, and I think had a much more swift result and explanation
You
of
think
what happened
was this
much earlier.
Was this political? You
I don't think-
you got a mayor's primary coming up. His opponent is the focal
I'm
point.
split on that because here's the problem. If the mayor dealt with it by himself, as I believe, as a city with the HR department, he should have, that would have been called political. Calling for a separate third-party investigation, you could argue that was, quote, less political. But the problem is it's been drawn out to this point.
Yeah.
And the reality is, if I explain exactly what happened, because I was there.
It was forwarded to the Attorney General.
Right, that's my point.
I mean, are you kidding me?
Yeah, right, and it's aggravating.
So,
here's, basically, I'll give you the nutshell of what happened if you want it.
I want that, but I want one more. I want to just get this in. I don't believe that HR should be involved in Common Council. And I know you say that this is not becoming of a council. Council members should not act this way. I completely disagree.
I agree.
I
agree
in
this case.
Let me finish. Yeah. I feel that council members have the ability to lose control, to get out of control, to act and misbehave inappropriately. And it might mean that the council president, whether that would be your job or someone else, there's a censure. There are things that could be done within the council that would basically publicly shame this person.
Which I might add, I couldn't do or even think about with the council within the days after that because we all had to wait for this investigation.
It all became an investigation.
Exactly.
But what happened,
now it's a month and a half later.
But and then the voters get to decide by someone's behavior. But to bring HR into this, I do not believe
so. There is one reason
I
think it was required.
As a secretary and the custodian that the custodian say, "Hey, nice."
There's one reason I do really, and this is me not as an elected official or a council member or council president. This is me in the private sector dealing with HR issues and having to be a professional in the private sector. There were employees of the city at the meeting, witnessed this. We're right next to it. And the reality is those employees were exposed to something on city grounds, in City Hall, that could, if this wasn't, I'm not saying the investigation was absolutely the right way to go, but my point is if it wasn't dealt with appropriately through our actual code of conduct and through the HR department, and the complaints were heard, filed, and dealt with, here's what could happen. You've got a city employee going to meetings. Now, they could say, I am nervous going to those meetings. I can't do my job appropriately. That's why I think it should have been dealt with the way it should have been dealt with. And now I'm not justifying the cost or the length of this investigation. But my point is, were city employees there, and I understand you would disagree. And you know
I disagree, yeah.
But in the context of the council meeting, I agree with you completely.
Oh, okay. I understand. So I think that we've seen I mean,
meeting,
legislatures around the world, including here in the United States.
Exactly. There's all kinds of crazy stuff
become
going
inappropriate at times, and they should be held accountable.
Look at history. Look at our own country. Look at Congress throughout our history since, our country was founded.
God forbid you take a look at those British meetings that they do.
I watch them
Those
sometimes.
guys go at it.
Look at Alexander Hamilton.
All right, so as we were saying, before we get off topic, though, back to the...
So I want to know what happened.
All right.
What did you
happened.
witness?
All right. In a nutshell, okay, we're at the meeting. We are having a discussion about where to place the patrolmen.
Right.
Okay, at City Hall. That discussion was revolving around that discussion. Councilman Lemetico. Now, I'm not the chair of this meeting. Okay, this is Councilman Marino's meeting. I'm there in attendance, but I'm not on the committee. I'm there to just be a council person. Right. So I'm there. Councilman Lemetico had something to provide based on his actual time serving, with our armed forces.
Yeah.
As far as preparedness and where that person should go, he was talking to the police administration about that, and Councilman Marino did, cut him off and say, he said some choice words to him. Okay. And that caused a verbal argument. And that is that normal political BS that you are talking about. No one in the room felt threatened.
And by the way, that voters could witness and say, "I don't want that person representing me."
Right.
Yeah.
But this was not what caused all this controversy. Okay.
Right.
So Joe and Jack are going back and forth, as many people have seen the council go back and forth.
Yeah.
That fizzled out. Mark Williamson, Jack Lemetico left the room. Okay, so it's parted ways, like normal. Okay. Do we all state all the time that type of behavior still is inappropriate?
Right.
Of course.
Sure.
But like we were just talking about, political things get heated. That was your typical heated debate. Now, we're sitting around the table, just all in between meetings, and Councilman Marino did, engage with Frank DeBrango verbally. It was not necessarily about the budget, okay? This just started as kind of a back and forth, and that did escalate into a situation where, as many people have watched now, people were standing in between them.
Yeah.
I would not characterize it as a brawl. I don't appreciate the fact that media outlets are using words like, blows and brawl and all that, because it's way overblown. Okay, and now, of course, a month and a half's gone by. All the anticipation of this has been completely ridiculous.
Well, there's a part of the video that's missing too, which they say is the DA's office says that is just it's the technical thing. It's not anything that was
the video wasn't modified.
Devious. Or
I've seen a lot of different videos like that from motion activated cameras.
By the way, I'm told that just went in. Why do you need motion activated? And maybe
from
it's
from a technical perspective, coming from my field, I'll tell you why you need
storage.
All right,
storage.
If nothing's moving, you don't need to be recording things on hard drives.
Fair enough. Okay. All right.
So
audio would be nice, though. We would love to have heard the audio.
Audio would have told a different story.
Yeah,
and that's basically what I'm saying. So,
in favor of who? If there was audio.
Well, it would have been in favor of no one. The council no one should be acting like this.
I think there's a lot of swearing that was going on, and people would not have looked
upon
that.
Okay, because guess what? There was a lot of swearing going on between Jack and Joe. No one at that table was concerned that it was going to escalate.
Right.
The difference is the second instance that happened.
So this is the quote unquote headbutt.
Well, right.
There really wasn't a headbutt. It was
a situation where it escalated to the point where Deputy Chief Noonan, Chief Williams, Captain Mickle, they were up. I was up. I got up when they got up, and it started to erupt, because this is almost like with Charlie, the type of bar thing where you need to kind of just keep tabs on the situation. And then the police are there. I'm like, the police are. I just stood by and watched what was going on. But unfortunately, and this is why the audio would have been key here, that instance did get to a point where it needed Chief Williams and Deputy Chief Noonan in between them so that it did not escalate further. And that's the difference between the whole Joe and Jack thing and the thing that happened between Joe, and Frank DeBrango. Now, over the past month and a half, first of all, I've seen all these people provide positive contribution to the council. So this is an instance of something. It was horribly inappropriate, but inexcusable. Okay, so and this is a month and a half later, and we're still talking about it because of that investigation, which I regret. But now we had to wait to talk about it, of course, and now you're asking me about it. We had to have a police officer in City Hall until the building was clear.
Yeah.
What needs to be understood is that when the normal political BS, which I completely disagree with, it shouldn't happen, is going on, no one feels threatened. No one is nervous it's going to escalate.
Right. And you felt that there was a time where it felt that it was
Not
going to
felt.
escalate.
It did.
It was escalating.
It did escalate to the point where if it was not intervened, things would have gone further. Okay. Obviously, it didn't play out that way, but I've watched this happen multiple times in the music industry, in bars. And that's the problem.
Probably better they weren't drinking, which
right.
Yeah.
So that's
Who says they weren't?
well, and not for
We
anything.
need an investigation.
We're
Good
talking
point.
about this investigation right now, which is a month and a half ago, and what's actually on my mind was last night's meeting. Last night's meeting was, as far as I'm concerned, a disaster. Completely inappropriate.
All right, now you're going to have to wait. Now you're going to have to.
Now what happened?
Now
we're going to get behind
go
schedule.
To 11:30 now this morning.
So we're going to be way behind. Oh, boy. All right. We want to hang?
Sure.
We'll do news, and then on the other side, I'll go right to you because I got to know what happened last night. And then Joe Marino is coming in studio. And
right.
what I'd like to be able to top this whole thing off if the two of you get in a fist fight.
Brawl.
That
No,
would.
I
That's not
highly
gonna
doubt
happen.
that would happen.
Okay. I don't.
We have a camera, so
You know.
We do
it's
have
not
cameras.
motion activated.
and audio.
Well, that's another key point. That's another key point that I'd like to bring up after.
Hold that key point, and we're going to do it on the other side.